Hey guys, welcome to Breakfast All Day. How's it going? Good to see you. I'm Christy. That is Matt. That is Alonso. Summer is here, as you can see by my child sitting on his ass on the couch doing nothing. But if you want to get up out of your seat and sing and dance, you can, because In the Heights is here and it is in theaters and it's a thing you're going to want to see in a theater. Alonso, please tell us about it.
So yeah, this is the adaptation of the hit Tony-winning Broadway musical from Lin-Manuel Miranda, the one that he did before Hamilton, and it is set in the New York neighborhood of Washington Heights, and we get to meet quite a few of the people that live there and follow their dreams and aspirations, their fights against gentrification, and their yearning to create better lives for themselves. Whether it's the hairdresser who wants to become a fashion designer, or the college student who's trying to make good out west, or our hero Usnavi, played by Anthony Ramos from Hamilton, who's a bodega owner who has dreams of returning to his childhood home in the Dominican Republic. This is a sprawling story, and it seems to be shot mostly out of doors. This is not one of those musicals that feels like you're constantly trapped in a soundstage. And they hired John M. Chu, the guy who did Step Up to the Streets and the, I continue to insist, underrated Gem and the Holograms live action movie. And so he has a real feel for dance on film, certainly, and for the music. The music is very Lin-Manuel Miranda in terms of the rhythm of the thing and his sort of Broadway hip hop kind of setup. But the first hour and 10 minutes of this movie is just like number after number, and it's exciting and it's thrilling, and I couldn't believe it. I was like so into it. And then, as many musicals do, both on stage and screen, it kind of takes a dip because then they've got all this plot to work out, and then at the ending it's all exciting again. So like I can't say I was like consistently enthralled with this movie, but I was enthralled for most of it. And I agree, like we've been saying for the last year, I have been the biggest naysayer about, don't go to a theater for that. Just stay home, be safe. If you can get to a theater, if you are vaccinated, if you feel comfortable doing it, if it is something that works for you and where you are right now in this whole process, this is the movie to go to a theater for. This is big, splashy musical numbers. I believe tonight, Friday the 11th, John M. Chu is going to be on TCM showing films like Royal Wedding, like $1 Million Mermaid, that clearly inspired some of the moments here. This movie just has a real vibrancy to it. It's colorful. They really kind of capture the sort of mix of nationalities in this neighborhood. You've got the Dominicans and the Cubans and the Mexicans, and everybody's sort of like representing. They're just there's an incredible number from the Broadway performer Olga Meredith, who plays Abuela Claudia. You know what? Like whatever team was behind Jennifer Hudson getting an Oscar for Dreamgirls because of her showstopper number needs to be giving this lady the same treatment, because she gets this reminiscent flashback number that is like amazing in all the best ways. But it's not even like you could argue whether or not it's a highlight, but it's just one among many extraordinary musical numbers in this movie. As a musical lover, this movie was just pushing my buttons like crazy.
That number you're talking about, that show stuff, it sneaks up on you too. Like it's not exactly building to it, right? Yeah. Like it kind of sneaks in, and it's, I think, all the more powerful that I've talked about how, like, certain theaters will get a little dusty. I've got a little bit. I cannot tell you what a lump in my throat I had with that one, with that scene. Like, that was just amazing. All I can think about this movie, like the best way I could say it is like, yeah, you know what? I guess they do make them like that anymore. This is a throwback in the best possible way. Cast of hundreds, great numbers. Chu really makes the most of what he can do on film as opposed to what's on stage.
Yes.
The overhead window shots, the overhead shots, but the window shots are great. The fire escape dance scene is great. That the musical number that the dance number in the pool is so good, to the point that Gabe had kind of come into the room, because I had to see this at home. I couldn't get into a screening, which I'm really bummed about. I actually really would have rather seen this on a big screen. I would have been bawling my eyes out in this one. But Gabe kind of wanders in after class on yesterday, and he sits down, and I end up, after the movie's done, running back to, because he came in like the last 20 minutes, running back to that pool scene, and he just loved it. This movie's great. I absolutely love it. I will say a little bit, you'll hear people, because Gabe and I were talking about this, you absolutely can hear Miranda's writing and composing in this, right? Like you can with any composer, right? Like, sure. If you know what to listen for, you know Sondheim a mile away. Absolutely. Andrew Lloyd Webber is terrible about that, right?
Yes.
And Gabe's like, yeah, right. Gabe's like, yeah, there's a lot of Hamilton in this. I was like, yeah, although this is first, so there's a lot of this in Hamilton.
In Hamilton, exactly.
Right. My one tiny little quibble with this is that it's hard to believe that somebody who looks like Anthony Ramos would be that nervous around a girl. That's like the one little tiny thing. Like, that dude is gorgeous.
Yeah, everyone's gorgeous.
You gotta go with that.
But Ramos in particular, right?
He and Melissa Barrera, those are like, these are star-making performances.
Right. And I can see, like, I'm glad that it took this long, although it's interesting because I could see Miranda playing that same role, playing Usnavi, and I would buy Miranda as the nervous dude, right? Which he did on Broadway, and originated the role. And as he developed it, I would buy him as the nervous type sooner than I would buy Ramos as it, right? But this is great. I also want to really quickly, he's on for like half a second, but Mark Anthony has this very brief role.
Wait, where's Mark Anthony?
He's Sonny's dad.
Oh,
and
that's who that is. Oh, yes. I had no idea.
And he's so good.
He's so good. He's like all emaciated and tatted. I had no idea that's who that was.
Yeah.
I want to also, you should mention also, guys, Leslie Grace, who is Nina. She, I mean, you mentioned star making performances. She's just like radiant, and she just has that magnetic thing. She's beautiful, but she also has this incredible voice, and
I wish
beautiful in this.
I wish her subplot were more interesting. Like it's the one that feels the least sort of, I don't know. It's not. It seems like as rich or well thought out as the other ones. But you're right. She's certainly dynamic, and her chemistry with Corey Hawkins is off the charts.
And Jimmy Smits as her dad. But I think it makes sense. Like, you go to a place like Stanford, you know, and you feel maybe not an inferiority complex, but a lack of belonging.
I looked it up. The current Stanford, or the class of 2019, I forget, and it was like 17% Hispanic Latino. So come on.
But this was developed 20 years ago. Like,
there you go. But it takes place now.
Well, and there's a very and the story she tells goes a long way to explain that.
Sure.
Right. So like it
and that happens all the time.
Oh yeah. Right. No. I bought that part of it for sure. No question.
Right. As we're talking about other people, like, yes, Corey Hawkins is great in this. Corey Hawkins is he's very charming in this. I really liked him. And, you know, it's easy to just say, oh yeah, Jimmy Smits, he's reliable. And he is, right? Like, Smits is really reliable almost in anything you put him in, but he's not just phoning it in, right? Like, he's acting, he's good. You see him be, you know, he's the thoughtful, worried father. He'll make sacrifices that he needs to. And then when it's time to dance, like, oh shit, yeah, Smits can dance too. Right? I
mean, he's like clearly the most famous person in this movie, but he's absolutely part of the ensemble. It's not like he waltzes in and is like, hey, everybody, you know, he is part of this whole team, and he feels like the guy in the neighborhood, you know, and it's effectively done. I love the way this movie looks. We should shout out Quiara Alegría Hudes, who wrote the book for the stage musical and adapted it herself for the screenplay. But yeah, as much as I think there's a bit of an energy suck about 2/3 of the way through, you know, that's probably inevitable just because it is so dynamic for so much of the rest of its running time.
And we should mention also that John M. Chu directed Crazy Rich Asians. which
Yes.
also
Yeah.
I think lays a lot of the groundwork for his ability to handle a giant ensemble cast like this with a cultural specificity that also is universally engaging.
Yeah, like he knows how to throw in a lot of very specific cultural details without stopping to explain them to white people. They're just there, and if you're paying attention and you get the context clues, you understand what and why and all that stuff. And if you don't, then maybe someone can explain it to you.
Right. And he does this, especially in both Crazy Rich Asians and this movie. Chu does that tough balancing act where you've got a really big cast and a wide, variation on characters, and everybody gets enough for their story to move forward, and you don't feel shortchanged, which comes up with like the Avengers movies, right?
And that's in the script too, certainly. But finding the time for everyone. I agree with what Alonso said, that this is thrilling off the top and so much fun for a long time. And each of the numbers has a really different look to it. And Matt, you're right. The Abuelita Claudia scene is for me the highlight, although it's the most understated. I kind of like that it has a different vibe. But after a little while, there does feel like not just a repetitiveness to the songs and the themes, but like when they're trying to cram in substance, right? And it's totally germane to telling the story of people who live in this neighborhood of various, Latin American backgrounds. But like the whole DACA fight, the whole, like the protests feel very wedged in, like they're trying to encompass so many different elements of what it is like to be a Latino immigrant in the United States.
But there is a character that is directly affected by that, so I thought that made it okay for me.
It did. I don't. It has to be there. I'm not saying it shouldn't be there. I'm saying the way it exists feels kind of quick and wedged in. And yet, if you don't acknowledge that, are you remiss? I mean, and it's also a movie that's like 2.5 hours long, and you got to find time for Daphne Rubin-Vega, you guys, to dance in short shorts in the alley.
Musicals tend to be longer. I mean, like, we need to give them that,
Right. I mean, I had a little bit less. I didn't really have a problem with the Sunny story because I felt like they were, by the time you find out specifically what's going on with that, there have been clues about where he could possibly go and what might happen with him and Usnavi all along, right? Like Usnavi wants him to come along, and there's the story about like, why do you always pay him in cash and all of that, like, and I'll give the benefit of the doubt to somebody like Miranda, who had to have known people under that same kind of situation, right?
Oh, no doubt.
Right. And so
we do.
Like, right. I mean, to me, like, yes, I understand it could be seen that way, but it would almost be a little bit weirder to leave it out at all. Right.
Oh, no. You can't leave it out. It's
Christy's just saying but if you're going to put it in, it kind of lands a bit with a thud as opposed to feeling as germane as it.
I know, right? I know we've been talking about this a long. There's two other performers I want to point out really quick. One, if you're a fan of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Stephanie Beatrice is all but unrecognizable about this in this movie, because this is 1 million miles from her Rosa on that show. I also think we're talking about star making turns. We're going to see a lot more of Gregory Diaz, I think, who played Sonny. And I would like that. Like he's got that like
thing that the camera wants to see.
Right.
Also,
as Martin Short says, he gets told in Three Amigos, he has it.
The costume designer is Mitchell Travers. He needs a mention as well. The clothes are great, although I do question putting Nina in jeans on a 103-degree day, blackout.
Well, they were moving.
And they're like stretchy jeans, and you have to be comfortable when you're dancing. I mean, whatever, but it's still.
I will say this: the clothes on all the characters are great and appropriate and fun. The creations of the character who is a designer are maybe not so great. Like if we're it's that thing in a movie where like someone's a photographer or they're a painter, and then you see the work and you're supposed to go, oh yes, exciting, and then in this one you're kind of like, okay, all right, that's okay.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. But the thing that she wears in her big dance number on the dance floor, the little green number she's wearing, is a knockout.
Yes.
Anyway,
that's a great number too.
It was
That
very
is.
sexy and fun. All right, I'm saying 8.6.
I said 8.
Okay, Matt.
I don't know why you guys hated this movie so much. I give it a 9.5. It is almost perfect. And this is, the other thing I thought about, not just they don't, they do make them like this anymore. This is why, this is another example. This is why we do this, right? Like, this is the kind of movie where it's like, yeah, the joy that this movie brings will get me through 25 shitty movies, because I'm chasing that dragon and I'll get it again.
It is enormously entertaining. So our number is 8.7.
Warner Brothers was convinced that Tenet was going to be the movie that would make us want to go back into theaters. I think it's this one.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for watching, you guys. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on social media at BeFastAllDay and on Patreon at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay, talking about Loki, talking about The Handmaid's Tale. Got our Off the Menu coming up, where we'll be reviewing, speaking of Crazy Rich Asians, Henry Golding in the Queer Indie Monsoon that you might have missed. It's streaming on Netflix. We'll be reviewing it as part of our Pride Month celebration. So if you aren't already a Patreon subscriber, go become one. Patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.